Hey Joe fans, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe cooking channel. Today we're going to do a Joetisserie cook, and I am going to cook a dry aged sirloin tip roast that we're going to slice up afterwards and make into some sandwich meat. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is make a marinade or a glaze to go with this roast. I'm going to start out in my mixing bowl with I would call that maybe two heaping tablespoons of stone ground mustard, and I'm going to follow that up with probably a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half of extra virgin olive oil. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of dried thyme and another teaspoon of dried rosemary. If you're going to use fresh on the herbs, I would just double the amounts. And I'm going to mix that all together. And we're just going to set this aside. Okay, here's our roast. We have a sirloin tip roast that I have dry aged using the steak ager that I showed you guys previously, and this started out as a 3.5 pound roast, and after the dry aging and trimming I'm at about 40 ounces here, so 40 to 42 ounces. And what we're going to do is I have prepared a vacuum seal bag, so we're just going to put this. We're going to start out by putting this in the vacuum seal bag, and then I'm going to put in our glaze that we made and rub it in all over that roast, but I'm going to rub it in on the inside of the bag so we don't make such a mess trying to put this guy in the bag. So once I have all that in there, I'm just going to rub it all over that roast. We're going to get it on both sides and get it evenly coated. And then I'm just going to vacuum seal this bag. And we're going to seal that up, and we're just going to let that marinate in the refrigerator overnight, and you could let this go up to 24 hours. So that's actually about how long we're going to go on this one. It's roughly 24 hours in the fridge, so we'll be back. Okay, first thing we're going to do now is we're going to fire up the classic. I've got one Kamado Joe fire starter cube down here in a hole in the middle of my charcoal. So I'm going to light that guy up. We're going to let it burn here with the lid open for about 10 minutes. And while we've got our fire going, letting it come up to temp, I am going to show you a little trick here with the Joetisserie spit rod. I've put the spit rod in place here, and I'm going to mark with a Sharpie over here on this side where the edge of the fire ring is, and that's going to give us an easy mark, so when we put our meat on here, it'll give us a good reference to where the middle is. You could mark the middle if you wanted to with a little mark right there, but that'll show you how much overhang we've got over here, which will allow you to more easily line the meat up. So we're going to let that continue to burn for, like I said, 10 minutes with the lid open. Okay, now that we've got our fire going, I'm going to close the lid, and we're going to set up to cook today around 350 degrees. So we're going to start by setting the bottom vent. I'm going to set the bottom vent approximately halfway open, and I'm going to close the slider on the daisy wheel all the way, and I'm going to leave the daisy wheel fully open, and I'm going to watch it, and as we get closer to temperature, if I need to warm the grill up, I'll open the slider, or if I need to cool it down, I'll close the daisy wheel. But we're going to settle in right about 350 degrees for this cook. Okay, I've trussed this roast up just a little bit to try to help it hold its shape, and while our grill's warming up, I'm going to sprinkle on a little bit of kosher salt on the outside of this, and I'm going to kind of pat that in, and I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the back side before we put this on the spit rod. So our grill is almost up to temperature, so I'm going to put this on the spit rod here in just a minute, and then I'll meet you at the grill. Okay, we've got our classic up to 350 here, so I'm going to pop the lid open. I'm going to toss on a little chunk of wood here for some smoke, a little apple wood, and we're going to set the Joetisserie up right in the middle of the grill there, and we're going to turn it on and let this guy start going. I'm not sure exactly how long this is going to take to cook. It may take, somewhere less than an hour, I believe. So we're going to cook it up to an internal temperature of about 125 to 130 because I'd like this to be medium rare when it's done. So we'll be back to have a look at it closer to finishing time. Okay guys, we've been going right at 45 minutes here at 350 degrees, and like I said, this is a rather small roast after we dry aged it, but I want you to have a look at that. That looks absolutely beautiful. It's ready. It's actually probably around 127, 128 degrees from my last check. So I'm going to take this off. We're going to take it inside and let it cool. Okay guys, I've taken that off the spit and I've let it cool a good bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap this in foil. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator overnight to chill it, because we're going to come back and we're going to slice this into some sandwich meat for roast beef sandwiches. So we're going to chill it. We'll be back and we'll have a look at it sliced, and then we're going to taste it. Okay, we've chilled this overnight, so I'm going to slice it in half so we can have a look at what this looks like on the inside before we go to the meat slicer with it. Look at that. That's an absolutely beautiful cook. Very nice medium rare. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to put it on the meat slicer. Okay folks, what we have here is some really delicious roast beef. I'm going to pull a little piece of that off here and have a taste. That's fantastic. It's really delicious. It's got a great flavor. And now you're going to get a bonus, because I'm going to show you how to make a really awesome beef and cheddar panini. We're going to start out with a couple of slices of Jewish rye, and we're going to put just a thin coat of barbecue sauce on the inside of each slice. And then we're going to line the bottom slice with some of that roast beef. And then we're going to put 2 slices of sharp cheddar. And then we're going to top that with the other slice of bread. And now each of the outer slices gets a very thin layer of mayonnaise. Very thin on both sides. And then you can cook it in your pan or on your panini press. Okay, and just after a couple of minutes on the panini press there, we have a beautiful sandwich. So let's give it a taste. Okay folks, here we go. Beautiful sandwich, beautiful grilled sandwich. Guys, that's fantastic. That is beautiful roast beef. You've got to give this a try. If you don't dry age it, just cook it normally, just like I did, without dry aging it. Slice it up. You can serve this roast beef a lot of different ways. You can slice it thin like I did for sandwiches. You can slice thick pieces off, serve it as the main course in a meal, but you've got to give it a try, especially on the Joetisserie. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Kamado Joe Cooking Channel.